Alright, today I'm going to trim this very tall foot. I intentionally leave the foot slightly thicker, so when I trim I can leave a very tall foot on the bottom. And also I like to introduce several of my tools that is very good for doing the decoration and for trimming. I have shown you this in my previous video to check the thickness of the bottom before you trim, so it will be more accurate when you're leaving the clay on the bottom. Especially the very tall foot, it's very hard to check the correct thickness. So using this measuring tool is very easy. So what I do is check the inner part of the depth, and then from the top of a ruler you check all the way down to the bottom. So that is how I check it. And there's a gauge, the ruler there in millimeters. So on the inside is 71 and on the outside is 90. Okay, so 90 minus 71 is 19 millimeters. So it's fairly thick. And I intentionally, I will leave the inner part of the foot ring within 3 millimeters. So that means I could go 16 millimeters deep. And I will check it. I dig a hole in the center and keep on using my ruler to check the depth of 16 millimeters. And then I will stop. And also this bed, okay, this I call this translucent bed. It's also good for trimming because I have a smaller gap of the circles, and using the circle it will help you to find your center easier, especially the very smaller gap. Looks fairly close on the distance from the circle. Okay, and you can see that without tap centering or without checking it, as long as your bowl is very uniform, you should be able to find your center easier. And then you could use water. Actually, this method, you can use water and use the water or slip, it will stick on there. But I'm going to show you my other tool that is also good tool. After you remove your holding clay, you can trim all the way down to the base, down to the corner. But for now, I'm just using the clay coil to hold the corner here. And this is one of the tool I designed. It's actually I call this number 2 because it's like a rectangle shape. Number 2 trimming tool. And I have different materials: stainless steel, and high carbon stainless steel, and tungsten carbide. And this one is tungsten carbide. Once you are using the tungsten carbide, it's hard to go back to the regular one because this hold the sharp edge much longer, very long, without needing to resharpen it. So I roughly trim the outer part of the foot ring to approximate the size. Okay, and then I will start to dig inside of the foot ring um, to remove the clay that I don't need it. So I usually use the corner of my tool to give myself a guideline here. So this is the part that I will remove it. So this trimming tool, the number 2, all the edges has been beveled, so they are all sharp, and you can use all the edges to do your trimming. So you can flip, you can turn your tool, or you can use the very top part of the tool. So after digging in, I will check, see how far I can go. So I can bring back my measuring tool. There's a slot in the center, so you can check it. And now I have about 14. Okay, if you cannot see it clearly, you can hold it, and then bring it closer to you. Okay, you can hold it like that and then bring it to you. So 14 is almost there, so I will just clean it up, finish up, maybe trim a couple more millimeters, 2 more millimeters, and then I will stop. The good thing for this tool is that this is sharp 90 degrees, so you can get your inside corner a very, very sharp 90 degrees if you prefer that way. Right, I will do my final check-in and to see if that's right. I think it's about 16 millimeters. So I will stop right here and clean up. I did not remove any clay from this part here because I need to use that to gauge. And I will level this part here at the very last. Right, so that width of the footprint is good and the depth is good. And now I will compare the inner part of outer part of the ball. And the outer part could be slightly low since when you're making the ball, the inside has a little curve. So the outer corner could be slightly lower than the inner corner. Right, so this is my number 2 trimming tool. And when you see I'm doing the very heavy lifting, meaning I'm cutting thicker, deeper, I using this method to remove it. But I hold my tool slightly more like 90 degrees angle. But when I'm doing the very final, the very last stage to just kind of burnish the surface, I'm holding my tool slightly angled, this angle. So this part here could touch the surface of the clay and then you can have the burnish effect. So that surface will be smoother. If you're holding the tool like this way, you're kind of scraping it. When you're scraping it, you won't be able to cut it smoothly. So that's the technique of how you went by the very last stage. Just trim a little bit and hold the angle of your tool slightly tilted so the bevel side of the tool could touch the surface. Meaning you're cutting it, but you still burnish it, and your surface will be smoother. Okay, so that's the number 2 trimming tool. And now I'm going to introduce my new updated plastic glass the spinner combination. So this is the newly updated tools. This one slightly thicker than my older ones. let me show you my older ones. So this is 3 millimeters, and this one is 4 millimeter, 1 millimeter thicker. And I also have it, since it's thicker, so I can have it deeper, so the spinner could sit inside the slot more secure without falling off while you're trimming it. Okay, and also for the decoration mark, I put it into cutters and 3 or more holes, so you can use the hole to just punch it through. Use the needle tool and punch through the holes without using my older method. Just go underneath here. You can just go straight down. Okay, straight down. So older one, the newer one, and it's more colorful too, so it's easier for you to see the division, and also have a mark. It's a little bit small, but you can still see it. Okay, so in case you need to find your division, this is a very good tool, and I will show you the division too. Okay, but for this method, for compressing it, first you put it on. You find your center using the little bit the circle, and you find your center much easier because again that the gap is 5 millimeter apart, so it's close. It's easier to find your center more accurate. And just drop in your aluminum spinner and hold it down here. You see that you're holding it down. Hold down your spinner, so you have down pressure. And after you remove your clay from the corner, the down pressure will hold your part in position, and you can trim it all the way down. Okay, so that's what the spinner are all about. Because when I'm trimming, I slightly have a little curve here, so if you are using this directly, it's rocking. And also when you trim, this part here might be soft. So if you have a pressure here, you might ruin your inner part of your foot ring. So versus this one is sitting right on your foot, okay, right on the foot. So it's stronger, and also it's leveled. Okay, hold it down and then trim it. Okay, so I connect the curve more smoothly all the way down to the corner. And again, I have 2 sizes. If your foot is not too big, then you could probably use a smaller one too. And again, hold it down and you can trim all the way to the corner. Okay, so this is what one of the function for the disc is all about. This is my older version and this is my newer version. It's a very tall foot.